Hey, I'm Dr. Fee, and today we're talking about burnout and patterns of perfectionism and our top 3 strategies to help you to bust through perfectionism and embrace a life of bliss. Stay tuned. Hey there, it's Dr. Fee, and I am so thrilled to be here. I am a transformation coach helping gorgeous women from around the world to overcome burnout, to reconnect with themselves and find their bliss. And I'm thrilled because today our gorgeous mindset coach, Dr. Jagatambe Narayani, is here with us to share her beautiful wisdom. And honestly, we're going to have an amazing conversation today about perfectionism and burnout. Isn't that right?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yay. So Dr. Jagatambe and I have known each other for a very long time, and I'm very, very blessed to be able to serve our clients in overcoming burnout. And what we see time and time again is these patterns of perfectionism. And I thought that today we will have a look at it, describe what that might be, how it shows up. And if you're struggling with perfectionism, then we have 3 amazing strategies to help you to bust through and be like us, recovering perfectionists. So you too can live in a different way and, ultimately have a very blissful life. So Dr. Jagatambe, do you want to kick us off in terms of what is perfectionism? How does it show up? How can it come up and really steal some people's joy and health and, all of that?
Sure. So yes, we do see a lot of that among many people in the world today, and particularly, the women that we get to serve. And it's quite pervasive in our culture. And it shows up in lots of different ways. But, I guess the hallmarks of perfectionism are where we have a distorted view of, what it is that we are expecting for ourselves, and nothing, under that is giving us peace, or we can't rest in that. And so we have like a standard that is above and beyond, what nature intends. And yeah, it's all born of the mind. And when we take that on, we internalize that belief system and those structures, we just perpetually seeking to fulfill that. And it's a lot tied up in our worthiness as well, it's not, it's not good enough unless it's perfect, and I'm not good enough unless I perform at this standard perpetually,
100%. It is definitely, you might hear yourself saying, just like I have over many, many years previously, and Dr. Jagatambe has helped me with this, is this sense of, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. I'm not doing enough. And in our efforts, we can look back and feel guilty. I know for a lot of our women in burnout, there's this sense of when I'm at work, I'm not enough. I'm not perfect enough as a mum. We sort of split our energy. And then when we're with our children, it's a sense of not necessarily doing enough with work. And so we can feel guilty or feel a sense of failure because, we just have these expectations, or there's, as you said, thought distortions, or there's distortions about who we are and where our value lies as well. Yeah. So how do you commonly see perfectionism show up then?
Like you're describing, there is that thing of, splitting our sort of attention so that, feeling guilty. If you're doing one thing, then it's the other thing you should be doing. But if you're doing that, you're feeling guilty because you should be doing that, because it's always needing to be perfect in whatever it is. But also that's like an impossible standard, because, we're actually... we don't need to live like that. So see it show up like that. See it show up in the nervous system, in the physiology, when we get into these states of perfectionism, we're really, driving from the sympathetic nervous system. So all of that conditioning that plays out there, like that perpetual drive, that perpetual, oh my God, I'm, in fight or flight. I'm hypervigilant. I'm, looking for the next threat and trying to tick things off my list because they are actually the threat, in the cognition. So it shows up, I guess with people having big to-do lists that they feel burdened by, and yet driven to try and still complete that in a way that continues the burden. And so it shows up like that. And also it can show up after that cycle establishes. It can also show up in procrastination, in the sense that like we get so overwhelmed, and there's a point where then that level of anxiety that is created through that overwhelm is something we want to avoid, and that avoidance behavior is procrastination. And so we have like a task that we want to do, or that we know we have to do, but then every time we approach that task our anxiety rises, and so then we avoid that task because we want to lower our anxiety. In the short term that works, so it's reinforcing, but in the long term it creates more guilt and then more anxiety because we feel bad that we haven't done the task, and then we also feel overwhelmed that it's still looming in our inbox or our perceived to-do list. So it's this vicious cycle of
it's a prison of sabotage, isn't it? Really, at the end of the day, we just beat ourselves up, feel guilty, feel a lot of shame, and really, we hurt ourselves, and in turn hurt other people.
It happens a lot. I have a PhD, but I also have a PhD in this, because while I was doing my as I was doing my PhD, I was also doing my PhD in how to overcome perfectionism. I love it. That was the real juice. Because it's like this cycle is it definitely I got to know it inside out, and then got to learn how to overcome that over the course of many years. I was actually in it for many years because I was a high achiever, and no one around me. This is another thing that like I notice with our clients, and I experienced this too. A lot of women who are in burnout are high achievers, are people who have had success in various aspects of their lives, and they've been rewarded for that emotionally as well as in other means. And so we get conditioned to find our success or our sense of achievement.
It feels so good to tick that list. It feels good. Who here would like to write a list? I've already done that, but I'll quickly put it on the list so I can just tick it off and get that dopamine hit. Done that many times.
So like there's this whole, I guess this identity in that, and we we seeking that, but then it can become a rod for our own back if we get so entrenched in these behaviors. So, what I notice a lot is with the women that we see, and also in my own experience, is like we can be in these cycles, but because we're so identified with that, no one even says to us, hey, have you considered that this is an unrealistic expectation? Or, hey, have you considered that you might need some more balance, because it's just what we expect of ourselves. And so everyone around us tends to also just go along with that and expect that. So
oh my goodness. And like that just reminds me of a conversation I was having this week with a beautiful woman in burnout, and it's exactly on that theme. She's been very much the capable sort of handle it, solution driven type girl, and talking to her friends about how she's feeling, and it's a little bit dismissive. Oh no, not you, you're fine with this. And it can be quite isolating because actually this is not me, and that sense of people don't know how to handle that, because that has been those patterns of actually, I'm the one who takes care of things, and I'm, I can handle this, and I'm a very much a high achiever. I know for myself, absolutely. It's also, I guess this is the thing, it's these internal drivers around our value, and from that, we can have distortions where we're comparing ourselves to other people. Like we're like looking into their lives, like, oh, well, they're handling it, so I should just be able to do more. Or there's that comparison to, what I was able to do, 3 years ago or before kids, or, or that dream, when I was 3 years ago, thinking about where I was going to be now, I had a perspective, a belief that I would be able to do more. Is it realistic? No, that's not, that doesn't even come into it. And so, it's that kind of, we start to compare and judge and criticize ourselves based on unrealistic ideas and viewpoints. And in turn, it just makes us sicker and sicker and sicker, because when is enough, and I know with myself, when I experienced burnout working as an emergency doctor, and it was after I'd returned from Africa, working as a volunteer there was I could hear this internal dialogue happening. It's something that I was aware of. And it's like any effort, it just wasn't enough. It was like, oh, yeah, it was good, but what you missed was this. I was very much focused on, because I wanted to do critical care procedural, like, really focusing my value on, being very good at doing procedures in unwell patients. And anytime that I would do that, even if it was successful, I did a great job. In that state of mind, I wasn't able to really celebrate. I would very much focused on, like you were saying, the threats or what I didn't do well. And I'd hear myself having this chatter of, oh God, I'm stupid. I can't believe I stumbled when I was talking to my consultant. I can't believe I didn't say this. And I would ruminate about the conversations that I had with either patients, or most generally it was like with my colleagues or my seniors. And in the end, it was just this losing confidence. I was losing confidence. I was unable to sort of trust myself, and spending so much energy on reflecting, double guessing, and like all of that. And at the end of the day, it was this, if I had done like a great job, it sort of would set a new standard. That I was never allowed to go back down. I wouldn't allow myself to have like a humanist day, like embracing my humanness, where, have a bad day. If I had just an okay day or an okay interaction or okay, it was just like, oh, that's terrible, because, this is my new standard. And it's hard when you're running at like, you're getting 100%, you're doing 100%. Well, the next level to go is 150% or 130%. And it's just like, is that achievable? No, but it's this aspect here in the mind and perception that really does it. And I think in terms of, obviously we're very, very interested in it's our passion to help women in burnout. And a lot of the time women can feel that the problem or the reason why they feel burnt out is outside of their control. It's external circumstances. And that might be true. There is external factors that contribute to burnout. What we're most interested about is these internal factors that we can really take control of, and we have responsibility about, that is in our control, and we can reshape. It doesn't have to be us. And for me, actually, that was the time that I met you as well, Dr. Jagatambe, to help overcome burnout at that time. And really, it was just this big, oh, wow, I don't have to be like this. This internal voice doesn't have to keep talking this way. I actually get to train myself to be a little bit kinder. I get to actually shift how I am running my life and how I am looking at my achievements and where I'm putting my focus. And it was just like this hallelujah moment, or a Disney moment where the birdies are coming in and chirping and landing on me. And I think that's really what we see in our clients today too, right?
Totally. Yeah. It's so heartening and it's so profound. And I think the temptation when we're in that consciousness is to kind of go, okay, well, if it's all inside of me, I'll beat myself up about that. But that's,
let me use it as a weapon against me. It's my fault that I'm holding on to perfectionism.
Right. But that's where we work so profoundly with self-compassion you know, and then the doors open and this profound Disney moment happens for everyone. And it's just so profound and so heartening. And it's, you know, it's the liberating joy of being free of these patterns. And of course, when we harness our own internal power, when we can, you know, implement these changes, everything around us also changes, whether it physically changes or whether how we interface with it changes, it changes. And so that's also just, you know, such a game changer for life, seeing that play out for everyone.
And so that really raises, I guess, a challenge that a lot of us, myself and perhaps you, Dr. Jagatambe, but I know with women come up when they know that this is a pattern that they want to resolve. But there's this fear that if I let go of this pattern of perfectionism, I'll lose something. I won't perform as well.
Yeah.
I won't be able to I won't be able to achieve as much. I won't get that job promotion. I won't be recognized. I won't have as much significance or security. And it can be this, there can be a lot of conflict. I know this isn't serving me, but yet I'm really scared to let go of this pattern of perfectionism that has driven me to success. Like you said, it's, you know, it's been a part of a lot of our women have been very successful. And so there's evidence as to, wow, this way of living and approaching life is, you know, equates to success. But is it really true success? Well, that's the question, isn't it? You know, especially when you end up feeling broken, depleted. And we can have women come to us because they're in burnout and they've got that recognition, yet there's fear in actually addressing perfectionism and resolving it, right? Because it's like, well, what does that mean when it comes to, does that mean then I need to compromise on the quality of my work? Do I need to then compromise on how I want to be as a mum? Do I need to compromise in what I can achieve and the goals that I set in my workplace? And the answer is no. What we find time and time again as we resolve, and it is a process, you know, it's a process as we resolve and refine and address these parts of us that are coming from that consciousness or, you know, that viewpoint of perfectionism, that in fact it enables us to be more, to enjoy more, and to really achieve such levels, whether it's like tangible results or promotions and you know, increasing your wage and wealth and success in terms of, you know, different roles and positions, versus actually kicking those goals as a mum, you know, where you are like, oh my gosh, I'm really now able to show up in the way that I've always dreamt of as a mum or as a partner, as in other roles as a family, and then even taking it more in terms of your other creative projects. Because as Dr. Jagatambe just explained, as you just said, is, you know, it helps us to tap into something more. And as we do that, everything in our life shifts, and it's an encouragement. What do you think? What could you add to that?
Totally. You got it. Oh no, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, that is it. I mean, it is completely game-changing and life-changing to overcome this conditioning. And it's like we're the fish in the fishbowl that doesn't know it's in water. When we're in our conditioning, we just think that's the way it is, and that's the only way it is, in reinforcing this behavior this way. And if we can have the courage, you know, it does take a bit of courage, but you know, the women we see have that in bundles, so that's cool. You know, even if they don't know yet.
Yes.
You know, they dig into this, and as you start to let go, you start to experience something different. And I think that's what gives people the strength too, when that felt sense, that experiential heart opening and connection with that deeper truth, you know, kicks in, or is experienced, then it gives us the courage to step forward and challenge again and again these, you know, these voices or this conditioning, to the point where, it's a process, but it's like at the start it's like this, and then we just pry a few fingers off, and then we're kind of, okay, I'm letting go because I'm trusting because I'm experiencing the change, and it happens quite quickly. I mean, we have in 9 weeks like complete transformations of people's lives. So
yeah.
great
And with it, people celebrating this whole sense of self-love and a feeling of spaciousness that comes with it. And of course, the goodness that happens in with relationships and career, which is really beautiful to see. And it's nice. Now you're getting new, and this is the thing about reshaping patterns, isn't it? It's helpful to be getting that feedback, that proof, to really help to reinforce the new way that you want to be living and embracing life. So, where we start adopting progress is perfection. I'm more than enough. I'm doing more than enough. Being more than enough can really, then you're getting more and more evidence to say, actually, this is matching this way of how I am with myself and what underpins how I make the decisions, how I handle challenges in my life. This matches how I truly want to be, and I guess the life that I truly want to be embracing, of the abundance, enjoying the abundance in my life. I love it so much. So I think it might be a good segue into looking at some ways, strategies to help bust through perfectionism, how to step from being a perfectionistic person into becoming a recovering like myself. So let's have a look at it. I thought initially, number one is we'd love to start with breaking the pattern. And there's steps, of course, whenever we come face to face with our pattern, whether it's perfectionism, and we'll be doing other videos about other patterns that can be contributing to burnout and why we get into burnout in the first place. And really, breaking the pattern, of course, starts with having an awareness, really pausing, reflecting, is this something that's playing out? And we've given you a lot of great, symptoms and signs that may make you want to consider, well, am I in a pattern of perfectionism? And from there, really having that awareness so that we can then start to, okay, accept it. This is what is. And now I make a decision to take steps towards amending it or handling it. So yeah, did you want to share with us, Dr. Jagatambe, in terms of ideas around how we could, okay, I'm putting my hand up. I am someone who, certainly leans into perfectionism. What do I do with it? How do I break the pattern?
Yeah. So I guess, like you said, the first step is really just acknowledging that and having acceptance that is the isness of the situation. And then to break the pattern, it's about recognizing what are the, how am I constructing? What's the mindset? What are the cognitions around what I'm expecting of myself? Because a lot of the time what we see is, when perfectionism's playing out, we think, okay, if I'm going to do personal transformation, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be the best mom, the best wife, the best worker, the best this, the best that, because underneath we're thinking, I'm not good enough at this, I'm not good enough at this, I'm not good enough at this, I'm not enough. And so when we're driven by that not enoughness, our priorities in life and our expectations in life are extremely high and extremely diverse, because we're trying to fill that cup. We're trying to be enough when we believe we're not, but it's like there's a hole in the bucket at the bottom. So we keep trying to fill it up and it keeps coming out. So we're trying. And so I guess one of the ways of breaking the pattern is to actually get clarity about what it is that you're actually having as a priority. If you're going to work on something, if you're going to want to transform your life, rather than thinking across the board, I've got to transform every little thing and be perfect at every little
I'm going to
thing.
lose 15 kilograms. I'm going
Yeah.
to eat healthy every single day and not eat any sugar.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm going to be the best mom and spend hours every single day with my child.
I'm never going to get angry. I'm going to do,
ever
an
angry.
hour of Pilates every day. I'm going to
100%.
never
An hour and a half, in fact. Yes.
Right? So like this, right? And we see it, and we have these like crazy expectations on ourselves. Well, if this is what I think is good, then I'm going to try and be perfect at that in every little thing in an extreme way. And
all at once.
Yeah, all at once. Yesterday, actually.
Yes.
Yesterday. And get it done by yesterday. So and so that's kind of one of the big things about breaking it, is actually getting clarity about, okay, what do I really want? How do I really want to feel? And what would be, the one thing that could, if I worked on this now, that could support me in moving towards feeling like this, And so getting clear about our priorities, and also examining our expectations, like really breaking down and calling ourselves out. And that's something that, we take a lot of heartfelt, compassionate joy in helping in our community. Like, is that really true that you need to, do this? Oh, hang on, maybe that's actually really outlandishly not a reasonable expectation.
That's just a bit of cray. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
Great, because sometimes we get caught in these silos, of our own making, and we don't realize just how unreasonable we're being with ourselves. We really believe that it's totally reasonable to have these expectations on ourselves. And so breaking the pattern is about really, breaking those expectations, or diminishing the false beliefs that we have around what it is that we need to be doing.
100%. And I would even be saying with it, and this will come into more of step 2, but it's for so many women in perfectionism and, overachievement, is that we don't even define, we don't even put a line in the sand as to what's good enough. It's like this never-ending search for something. Like, how do you know you're a great mum?
Yeah.
How do you really know that you're a great boss? Have you really, and that's what you're saying, define your expectations. And it's a great question to ask yourself. Like, if you're at home right now, you could grab a piece of paper, think about the different roles you wear, the different hats you have, and really write down what are some things, some tangible things that would help you to decide. And I often ask our clients, when are you going to decide that you're a great mum? Because sometimes women, in perfectionism, just, it's this elusive thing. No, I just, well, at the end of the day, we get to decide, this is what makes me a great mum. I'm a great mum because, I ensure most of the nights of the week, 3, 4, I get to define it out of 7. It doesn't have to be every single night. Got to watch our rules. I'm there to say goodnight to my children, let them know that I love them. They know. And so we can define it in that way. When women first start with us, it's incredible how unrealistic the expectations are. And so when you write down, what would make you feel satisfied, then I want you to come back to it and ask the question, is that really true? Is that realistic? And do I need to truly tick those boxes to be a great mum? And our third point will help with that too. And so for our clients, it's hard when you're juggling. You do this so well, Jagatambe, where you pat your head and rub your belly at the same time, or you are sort of got multiple spinning plates in the air. We are women in burnout often want a really full, satisfying, rich life. And so therefore we can have a lot of competing priorities. And when we come to say, well, just choose a priority, it can be like, but it is all a priority. And it's just creates some space some time to stop and just think, if I was to choose one that is going to influence those other areas in my life, what would that be? And generally speaking, for our women in burnout, it is actually prioritizing themselves, but not just prioritizing self-care, prioritizing calm, prioritizing vitality, like the actual outcome that you want. Because in burnout and perfectionism, time and time again, what we see, and I've done this myself, is that because we're driven with that unconscious pattern of I'm not enough, even self-care can become a weapon against ourselves. And so we're prioritizing self-care from a pattern of perfectionism, which means, oh, I've got to do more, it's not working, and we're just rushing to get through our list. And then at the end of the day, it's making us feel worse, more depleted. And we get caught in that vicious cycle of, oh my goodness, see, nothing's working, I'm broken, I can't handle it, and I'm going to have to compromise or give up. And so that when we really choose our priorities, if it is you and your health, I encourage you to even think about or ask the question, what exactly am I after? It's not just health, it could be vital, it could be feeling calm and present and waking up with energy, like really have clarity over what you want as a priority. And that can be very, very helpful as well, because then you will choose the right things to match that. It may not be that you go to the gym at 5:30 every single morning or 5 mornings a week. If your priority is to feel calm, relaxed, and present in my life, present in my family's life, present at work, it may be that you might decide on something else to help you with that priority. Yeah. So it's like giving yourself permission to define what your priority is and how you're going to meet that. Cool. Yes. So number 2, we were going to decide on a new pattern. So if we look at, okay, there's a pattern of perfectionism, and we get to recognize that our priorities and expectations aren't serving us well. What could we do in order to decide on creating a new pattern, the other side of the coin? And really, I think, well, we were talking about this before we started this podcast. So if you wanted to take over Jagatambe, you had such beautiful ideas.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it's what we've seen works. And a lot of it is around changing our global mindset, changing like those structures in terms of saying, I'm more than enough. I am worthy. I love myself exactly as I am. And, really imbibing those true, belief and making that our new schema, making that our new meta belief, coming from that space rather than the underlying unconscious of I'm not worthy. So we do a lot of work on that. And our third point will help us open the door on that more. But in addition to that, when we're talking about deciding on new patterns, one of the things that has really worked for a lot of people is breaking things down into bite-sized chunks, breaking things down into things that we can celebrate, because what we all know, what maybe we don't all know, but what we all actually respond to is reward, is celebration. And so, in behavioral psychology, they look at different schedules of reinforcement, and across the board, like across the species board, whether fear or punishment or whether reward and praise will shape a behavior faster, the answer is always reward and praise. So we are beings and creatures of needing, to feel praise, to feel reward. And that's why we get caught in sometimes things that don't serve us, but we can use that, we can use that piece of information and actually let it serve us. And so what I mean by that is, if we the way that we operate is, if we're in a perfectionistic pattern, then what we're saying to ourselves is essentially, from a reward perspective, if I try and do this thing, then the outcome is either going to be zero praise if I achieve it, because I'll go, yeah, that's what I set out to do, you know, because that's the way a perfectionist thinks. Or if we do 95% or 90% of it, we'll focus in on that 5 and 10% and criticize ourselves. So the outcomes are, right? The outcomes are nothing, neutral, or criticism. And so it's like, it's very hard to, you know, to stay on that, but we beat ourselves up and we go on that. But what we can do is we can overcome that by utilizing the reward, you know. So we're breaking down our tasks or our outcomes into small bite-sized chunks and celebrating that. And to a perfectionist, like, that seems so foreign, you know, like when you first say, what, like, you mean I do 25 minutes at work and I pause and I say, good on me for doing that, that's fantastic,
yay, I'm so great, I'm doing more than enough, woo.
And then do another 25 minutes, like, that's like such foreign territory for the perfectionistic mind. But when we start to practice this, when we actually break it down, what we're doing is we're utilizing all levels of our being, our emotional body, our physiology, our dopamine. We're getting it all in sync in the direction of the outcome we want, which is to feel peace and happy and joyful in life, in the journey, and still achieve. And you can do this, you know, you can do this. And so when we decide on a new pattern, we sort of understand there's beauty in progress, and we actually break things down into small bite-sized chunks, celebrate along the way, really celebrate, you know, and break and time manage, you know, time manage in ways that structures that, so that our dopamine is getting addicted, you know, to the tasks we want to do in a way that's constructive for us, in a way that actually, you know, serves our sense of, you know, well-being and worthiness, rather than the opposite. So it's a great system. We can actually, you know, use a multidimensional approach to restructure a pattern quite effectively, very quickly, to have amazing outcomes. And, you know, it's just so joyful to be liberated of these patterns of perfectionism and, you know, subsidiary procrastination perhaps that people experience maybe for years, you know, and then they're breaking through that with these tools, with breaking the pattern, with deciding on a new pattern, and then with the third thing, which is compassion. Compassion.
And so, like, to really link it back to burnout, you know, in burnout, what we see is, you know, obviously exhaustion, but there's a shift in your relationship to your work. And there's this sort of empathy fatigue, depersonalization. And, you know, so if you can imagine shifting it in and really focusing on those, you know, chunking it down and celebrating their wins and bringing that energy back into the tasks and doing it consistently in just simple ways, then really what we see is women shift into feeling alive again. And their relationship with their work, you know, they reignite that passion. And it's a big deal, especially when you've someone who has sort of made a lot of hard work and effort to get where you've got in your career, and, you know, even sacrifice. This is a lot that I hear women say, I've sacrificed a lot to accomplish, and, you know, and then feeling that in burnout, oh my gosh, am I going to lose that? Or actually, I don't know if I want that. That can be confronting. I don't know if that's actually what I wanted, you know, to then be able to start to shift these patterns that have been at play that contributed to burnout. It helps to really, oh my gosh, with these small rewards and getting your dopamine hit, not through ticking things off or getting a little bit of praise here or there, you know, or constantly trying to search, striving for more and more. It just creates a sense of freedom. It creates a sense of like feeling alive, and that passion comes back, and it's a real joy to see. And it has such a flow-on effect, because then women regain their confidence, and from that place can make better decisions around boundaries. It's not just, oh, I'm just focusing on how I'm, you know, the inner talk and the self-talk. Well, from that perspective, we can be putting in even greater boundaries with work, right? We have that confidence, we have that ability to let things sit, you know. It's like I can be comfortable in this list not being completed. That's a big win. and know that I'll be able to pick it up tomorrow. And from a physiological perspective, being able to do that, to be able to put a boundary in place and step away from work and switch off and be present with your family, or be present with your friends after work, and have that, wake that part of you up again and have that love and connection. Well, then physiologically what's happening is that, you're really getting out of that state of fight, flight, and push and or survival. And so you're going to be able to rest when you get to rest, and you get to sleep, and the next day you wake up and your hormonal levels have all balanced out, so that you wake up and you've got the cortisol there, not the melatonin hangover, or not the absence of, your adrenals are so flogged. You actually wake up and you have that, and that vitality and energy that's come back. And it's like, wow, by shifting a pattern of perfectionism, it can really set you up to have such healing and really support your physiology to get out of a state of survival. And we can see that on a biochemical level. We can test that with our clients to see hormones to come back. And it's through resolving perfectionism. We think our period, our cycle, it's the cause of us feeling crazy and hormonal. And yet, absolutely. But it's a chicken and egg scenario. And it's so interesting to see how we can resolve these patterns of perfectionism and create some spaciousness within us, and spaciousness in life, and our relationship of how we show up. And in turn, we become into this more of a rest and state of being, and our hormones settle down within weeks, and our immune system improves, our digestion settles, we sleep better, we feel stronger. And that's a really beautiful thing. And that mantra, we have these mantras, we can start talking to ourselves differently. I'm more than enough, doing more than enough, and I'm receiving more than enough. It can really help shape our physiology to health. Yeah.
Totally. A game changer.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about step number 3, because does it happen just like that, making a decision and one affirmation? Oh my goodness, that's it. I'm aware. I'm a perfectionist. Okay, so I'm going to start giving myself a mantra. I'm more than enough, if only.
Yeah. The perfectionistic mind would like that to be the way it was.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's another thing, one of the hallmarks is also having the knowledge of something, and thinking that just because we know something, that means we should be able to instantly embody it. That is, just because I know that, X, Y, or Z, that I should be more whatever, I should instantly be able to have embodied that yesterday. That's kind of what we see in perfectionism. Yes. So one of the parts of becoming a recovering perfectionist is actually appreciating the journey. And how then do we be with ourselves in that journey? The way that we be with ourselves in that journey actually, ameliorates a great amount of perfectionism. Because perfectionism is it's like a snowball, it's a self-fulfilling snowball prophecy thing where it feeds off itself. So if we get a wedge in the door here, we're going, okay, I accept that it's a process. My perfectionistic mind's going to want to come up and resist that and want it to be like that. I can even change my perfectionism perfectly by being perfectly not perfectionistic by tomorrow. But if we can,
it's so true. I've been there. It's so true. It's exactly what the mind wants to say.
I'm gonna nail this. I'm perfect. If we can get into us that it is actually a process, then in that process, we hold ourselves in compassion. Yeah. That compassion is a game changer. That compassion, takes a whole lot of icing off the cake, and the cake of perfectionism might be like a wedding cake where the icing's huge. It's taking a great majority of how perfectionism perpetuates itself. If we can just intervene with compassion and understand that life is a process, transformation is a process, and then if we can apply compassion in that process, we can connect with compassion
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves, then any process we're going through, any transformation we're going through will happen more easily. And it's particularly pertinent to perfectionism because, you know, compassion is almost the antithesis of perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, how do we get more compassionate with ourselves? We need to drop into this space here, into our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the time when we're in that state of perfectionism, the mind's running the show. And so there's a great journey from the head to the heart that we see.
Yeah, I love myself. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Doesn't quite help, does it?
Well, you know, like I know I don't.
Let me do compassion.
I know I don't mean it when I say this X, Y, and Z about myself. I don't really mean it. Right?
It's okay for other people, but for me, you know, that's my one. I can be very compassionate for other people.
So we, you know, that's the voice that I have seen in, you know, myself in this journey and thousands of other women, where we really defend against, you know, dropping into that space and the mind saying, you know, no, it's fine because of X, Y, and Z, or yeah, I'm compassionate because I give this to others. But there's this huge blind spot in perfectionism where we just, you know, we may be very capable of compassion and we may be practicing that for others. Like, funny thing with perfectionism, like a lot of people, women who particularly who are perfectionists, they're the most beautiful, gentle, amazing people.
Giving.
The people that they love.
Giving.
Yes. And then they get the whip and crack it on themselves. And so, you know, this compassion piece is such a beautiful piece to facilitate, to bear witness to, and to facilitate, you know, in someone's journey, helping someone to connect with their, you know, their heart and to actually appreciate and love themselves from a place of compassion, and to learn how to hold ourselves in that space of compassion as we journey in life, and particularly as we seek to overcome perfectionism, is just a profound and complete game-changing practice, you know? So yeah, it's very
it really is. You and I are just sitting in it going, compassion, so beautiful. And it is one of the most rewarding things that we get to witness, you know, for our clients in burnout. Overcoming burnout is once they know how and what, and, you know, that process of how to cultivate compassion. It's the process. It's cultivating compassion. It's like, wouldn't it be nice that we could just flip the switch? Okay, right. Flip the switch. I'll love myself right now. But we got to understand that over many, many years, and also culturally and from our family and from our society, you know, that disconnection from that emotional self can be ingrained. It's something that we may never have been taught or witnessed, you know, along the way, what it even means to be compassionate to yourself. And so that piece, if you know, we're talking about cultivating compassion. It is the process of really, you know, feeling it and developing it and optimizing it and coming back and making the decision every day and throughout the day to cultivate compassion. It's the process, and it's something that once women realize that, and our clients realize that, it helps with everything. You know, challenges are going to happen. We get triggered. Be beautiful if it's a straight line from burnout to bliss, but it's kind of like a little bit like this. But having this tool and process to not just think, oh, I am more than enough, but truly feel it, to truly nourish, to truly give yourself that permission to be human and to be spacious with yourself. It's a good place to keep coming back to, and we grow. It's limitless. In my experience, it's something that, oh, there I go, I get caught, triggered, flip into, you know, perfectionism or pressure on myself, and it's just like, it's okay, even that is a part of the process, and I get to come back into a space of deep love and compassion for me when that happens, you know. So and it sets the stage. Then it means that you know, women have confidence in themselves. You know, they really know how to speak to themselves in a really loving and gentle way, and that's strength, that's resilience in my mind, in a true way. Oh, it's so beautiful, isn't it? So there we go. There are three amazing, I mean, it's been such a beautiful conversation, and three amazing strategies and approach, and there's a lot in it, absolutely. But you know, hopefully you've taken some notes, and if not, listen again and get your pen poised and write down, and I encourage you all who are tuning in to reflect on it and see how you can be implementing those ideas over the next few weeks to really help you to overcome burnout and live with bliss and all the great things that come with that, which is health and vitality and love and connection and career progression and wealth and abundance. And if you need some support with that, well, we're here. You know, this is something that we love to do, is to help women feeling that the moments away from burnout, or even stuck in burnout and sacrificing their health and their relationships and their career. And if you're ready for some deep love and support to help you to overcome burnout, then reach out to us and we would love to support you with that. So thank you so much, Dr. Jagatambe, for joining us. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, so great.
Awesome.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you want to subscribe, just click on my head beneath this so that you can subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to book a call with our amazing team to have that life-changing conversation, then click on the button beneath this that says book a call, or you can go to our website, which is findingbliss.com.au/apply, and make sure that you fill in that application form so that we know a little bit about you. We can better prepare for the session and serve you in a more meaningful way. Awesome. Stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you on the next show. Bye-bye.